Welcome back to the How to Relate podcast. I am here with Heather Waxman. Hello.
Hi, Brittany. It's so amazing to be with you.
It's so wonderful to be here with you as well. We got to meet through mutual friend of the pod, Justin Karate, and I'm so glad that he made the intro for us to meet.
Me too. Justin, if you're listening, love you, appreciate you. He is such an incredible example of generosity. He gives without any attachment. And it's so beautiful to be on the receiving end of that because now we've formed a really lovely connection with each other.
Yes. I'm so incredibly grateful for it too. Even looking at your website, I was like, I'm so excited to meet Heather. I feel like that you really do represent a very warm, empathic presence. And also you delve into some of the more spiritual spaces, which is so fun to see in the land of therapy.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, of course. What are some of your favorite modalities to use with clients?
Oh, I love this question. The modalities that I love to use with clients are the ones that like deeply serve their souls. So like what I mean by that is when I work with clients, I am constantly keeping in mind as a central theme and tenet of our work together, centering their agency, centering their power at every step of the journey. Because one of the themes that 90% of my clients come to work with me around is reclaiming their power, reclaiming their sense of self-trust, reclaiming their sense of being capable to live a life. Some people come and they don't feel capable of like adulting, and that is the cause of anxiety in the system. So the last thing that I want to do when I start working with a client is tell them what to do. I want to ask them questions that help them lead themselves to what they need. And then I can say, cool, like these are the modalities, whether it's breath work or specific somatic work or emotional freedom technique, tapping, somatic internal family systems work, whatever is going to really support them, spiritual practice, deepening a spiritual connection of their own understanding to achieve their goals. So I see all of the modalities that I offer as like a buffet. And first, I want to get them in their agency. I want to ask them good questions that help them access that. And then we're going to pick from the buffet together.
I love that so much. It's so interesting. I was literally just having a conversation with another therapist today about how it feels like we have to have all the answers at times, and that sometimes clients come to us and want us to be able to tell them what to do. Of course, when someone's in pain or they're in the darkest places in their lives, it's like someone shine a light and take it from me and tell me what to do. But it's also recognizing that, like you're saying, client is at the center agency point. We want to empower you to see your own autonomy and how you're capable and how you're resilient and how you can do the hard things. And we're here next to you to be with you along the way.
Totally. Everything is therapeutic and everything has therapeutic value. Or if I'm working with a coaching client, everything has coaching value. So like, meaning if they bring that to our work together and they're like, I don't know what to do, tell me what to do. I'm first going to be curious about why they feel like they want to ask me what to do. Like, what's happening? Are they in their agency in that moment and genuinely don't know what to do? I mean, I'm there sometimes and I'm going to ask someone, whether it's my wife, my dear friend, my mentor, my coach, what do I do? I feel stuck. Like there's a important piece to that. And to your point, like if it's the go-to response because of a pattern of underfunctioning in one's life or because they grew up in a system that told them you have no idea what you're doing or who you are is not valid or worthy, that can create those patterns of relating. And so it's everything can be so nuanced. And also as a therapist or a coach, like I have to be mindful of my own patterns because I have had a pattern, as most of us have as healing professionals, of, certainly in my family system, I was the emotional caretaker. So I had to be really mindful of that part of me that could get high off the supply of other people asking for my help. I have
Mhm.
to be super honest with myself about that and making sure that that part is not taking center stage and that self energy is leading in this space. So it's so nuanced.
It is so nuanced. There's so many layers, because like you're saying, the emotional caretaker wants to show up. And especially when we see someone in pain and when it's someone that we're working with and it feels like you should have an answer, and we're used to being the emotional caretaker. And that is how we also felt a sense of belonging or validation or sense of like importance in our units at some point in time, whether that be a family unit or even our friendships. That it's that check in of it, can I put that part of me to the side that wants to be able to fix all of it and be in the uncertainty with someone to then be able to figure out the messiness of figuring it out together. And it's super uncomfortable. It's so uncomfortable.
Mm. I see. I love that space. It used to be really uncomfortable for me when I was functioning from over functioning, when I was like, that was like, I wasn't yet in self energy. So, like, most of the time when it comes to that pattern, I am in self energy and then I'm human. And, 10% of the time, absolutely, that part shows up. Um, and I have to say, oh, hi, sweetheart. I know you want to fix this and make it all better, but it's not your job. Please step back. I love you. And then to really be present with the client. So, yeah, it takes so much mental, emotional, psychic energy as a holder and facilitator of spaces to hold as like compassionate and ethical of a space as you can, you know?
Mhm. For sure. Yeah, it's the compassionate and ethical space. It's like checking in with what is the over functioning part? When does it want to show up? How can I be compassionate toward myself, toward the client, toward the space that feels uncomfortable for both of us here? Have the humility around not knowing, and also be the professional leader in the room, because that's also part of this. And so it's like parkour. All in with like, and a lot of times, I don't know if you feel the same way. A lot of times, whenever these moments happen, they're not long. It could be a total of a minute, but it feels like an hour. I mean, it's very, it feels like time lapses, and it's like, hold on, this feels like I'm moving in slow motion.
Yeah, I know. I so hear you because we're in such a state of deep presence. And when we're in a state of deep presence, time just as we know it linearly doesn't exist actually.
Right. Right. Totally. So, what do you think the importance of spirituality is in the therapeutic space?
I love this question so much. Well, first of all, I I'm not um someone who believes that every person should have a spiritual belief system. I'm not here to like, I just want to preface this because spirituality, religion can have such a dogmatic kind of energy with it. People can be very set in their ways. Um, I don't proselytize anything to clients. I make it known that if that is an area that they want to include within their therapeutic or coaching journey, that I am 1,000,000% down for it. But not all my clients choose to, and I fully respect and embrace that. Just wanted to preface that first. But so now with my own personal orientation. So on a very like practical, like if we're gonna go like evidence-based kind of from an evidence-based lens, having a sense of purpose and connection and meaning as human beings is fundamental to our mental, emotional, psychological, and spiritual well-being. So science shows that when we believe in, when we trust in, when we work with an energy beyond physical form, whether we call it the universe, source, creator, God, angels, ancestors, all of it, that we have a general, we carry ourselves through life feeling like we have purpose, feeling like we were put here on purpose, feeling as though we are actively co creating our life experience with an energy beyond us. And that is good for our well being. So if someone's like listening to this and kind of like on the fence, like spiritually side eyeing, and they're more of like a sciencey person, I would invite them to look into that research. And if you want to just kind of play around with and enter through that door, that's a door that's available to you. If you're not and you're just into it and you want to know why, life is so much more magical, truly, when you open yourself up to the what I would call the truth that there is and there are spiritual life forms beyond this physical realm that we are in that we can co-create our life experience with. I mean, a perfect example of that, Brittany, is I was just on a walk and I like to walk and pray. So to me, prayer is just conversation with source. And one of my favorite things to do is just to say thank you prayers. So like I was taking a walk before our podcast episode and I just said, thank you, Spirit, for bringing forward the most magical synchronicities that let me know I'm on path. And you had said before we started recording that the pineapple was a symbol of friendship. And I'm drinking an organic Suja drink. It's called Ginger Love, and it has lemon, ginger, and pineapple. Like that seems so silly, but it's not. Like when you open yourself up to the truth that there is energy beyond physical form that's working with us, these little moments, these synchronicities happen so much more often. And I would also say it's not that they weren't happening before, it's that we were closed off. We have to be open and willing to receive and see and know. And life feels so much more purposeful and meaningful. It becomes a more holistic experience because it's not just about like, oh, I'm in this reality and I'm socialized to achieve XYZ and get this thing. It becomes so much more meaningful and connected. And so um, when I see clients start to use these simple practices of connecting with the universe, connecting with spirit, and experiencing them for themselves, and then moving through their lives, feeling more on purpose and connected, it's just the most magical thing to witness.
I love everything you're saying. Okay, so I'm going to back it up and maybe go like a little bit chronologically because when I think about the person who is, let's say, super sciencey, and they're like, that spirituality stuff can't, I don't know about it. Like, I might be a little interested, but science is the way. I think that, and especially in 2025, it's like we kind of substituted philosophy with psychology because it's like we can now study it when really it's been things that have been said before in the dawn of time. And yet here we are just proving it. And it's like, yeah, the Buddhist meditation would work too, but okay, you need science to prove it.
Right, like thousands and thousands of years. Yeah.
Exactly. We're like before evidence-based was a word, that that was existing and these practices were happening. So what would you say would be a good starting point for someone who is maybe more logical and analytical into more of the spiritual realms that can feel like that they don't have this grounding in, but what about the research?
Well, I don't think that I would want to I'm not interested in convincing people of something if they're not ready for it or if they don't want it. So if someone was saying to me like, yeah, but like, what about X, Y, and Z? I would experience that as resistance. And I'm not someone who wants to meet resistance with like, I don't know, like an argument or a point. I just want to be like, okay, that's your point of view and that's totally valid. And it works for them. So I don't think that I would put any energy into it.
Sure. It's like don't move the brick wall. If
Yeah.
someone, I have no idea where to begin, Or
Mm,
I'm kind of interested, but where do I start? Because when it comes to spirituality, there's thousands of practices I could be doing, and I'm overwhelmed.
totally. Okay. So if you want to start, so just for to bring it back, my background is in both being a student and a facilitator of the metaphysical text A Course in Miracles, and also through studying Ron and Mary Hulnick's work of spiritual psychology, which just dovetails so beautiful together. So I just wanted to name that first. In A Course in Miracles, the course says prayer is the medium of miracles. And like I had said, prayer has been a word that obviously has been primarily associated with religion. For me, and if we're looking at it through the text of A Course in Miracles, prayer being the medium of miracles means a miracle is simply a shift in perception that we experience, a shift in from limited thinking, that perception, to limitless thinking, to possibility oriented thinking. Like the way of being that source orients itself around is something we can never comprehend because we are not source. But and also source is limitless possibilities. And so we require miracles when we're stuck in shitty thought patterns. And prayer is the way that is a way, not the way, a way we can undo that limited thinking and expand into limitless thinking. So when I was on my walk today, for example, like I said, I like to say thank you. So you can use whatever word you want. I'm just going to use universe. Let's say, I don't know, give me an example, Brittany, of maybe someone being stuck in a moment of limited thinking or feeling stuck or in a moment where they wanted to use prayer.
Sure. An example that's coming to mind is, oh, like I didn't get the job that I wanted. I've been applying for so many jobs, and life itself just feels like it's not going my way. I'm not getting the job I want. I don't have the relationship I want. My car broke down last week. It feels like that every sign in the universe is telling me that there's something wrong, and I don't know how to get unstuck from this.
Okay. Love this. Amazing. So good. Thank you. Okay. So to ground this in the spiritual context, we are souls having human experiences. And whatever we're going through is not happening to us, it's happening for us. It's part of our soul's curriculum. Now, I'm not saying that violence, systemic oppression, I'm not saying that we have chosen those things. I'm talking about, I just want to be really clear about that. I'm not, or the trauma that we've experienced at the hands of someone else, that is your assignment in your soul's curriculum. No, that's not, you'll find that in, I think, some spiritual teachings and or people. That's not a belief system that I ascribe to, because I think that our existence on this planet is a lot more nuanced. I do believe that we have destiny, and I also believe we have free will. And I think that some people make really disastrous choices with their free will. I've certainly made disastrous choices with my free will in my lifetime. So I just wanted to caveat that first. So we all have our own soul's curriculum. When we have these moments where we're starting to feel victimized by life, we're losing our sense of hope, purpose, connection. The Course in Miracles will call this a moment of forgetting. We have forgotten. We are stuck in our ego because we're making everything all about us and what's happening to us. So we're stuck in ego. This is an opportunity to shift out of ego-based limited thinking into soul-based limitless thinking, i.e., this moment is not just all about me and what's happening to me. There's actually so much more happening now. So if that person is in that moment, I would ask them to, number one, name, acknowledge, and feel everything that they're feeling. Do not gaslight yourself. Do not affirm something over a negative feeling. Let yourself feel. If you're having a shitty day, feel like shit for a minute. That's okay and healthy and important. After you've had your adult temper tantrum, as I like to call it, my wife and I, when we're having a moment with each other, where, one of us had a really difficult experience, whatever, we'll be like, 5 minutes, temper tantrum, go. And like we give ourselves 5 minutes just free. So I want you to have your temper tantrum. So this is what I tell clients too. So have that. Then it's time to put your big person pants on and it's time to get yourself out. Now, prayer is the way out and you don't have to do it alone. So if this person is in this moment, I would invite them to say the magic prayer from A Course in Miracles. I am willing to see this differently. That's the magic prayer. It is like a bridge, I swear to you. I am willing to see this differently. I need a miracle, meaning I need a shift in perception. So I want you to say that out loud. I want you to say to the universe, I feel stuck right now. I feel like nothing's working out for me. And I feel like this job stuff and then my car broke down. Like, this is so hard. This is so hard. And I am willing to see this differently. I need a miracle. Help me to see this through your eyes. Lead me and mean it. Say it with conviction. And I promise you, someone's going to call you. You're going to get a check in the mail. Like, some miracle is going to happen, or you will feel better. And because you feel better, you're going to be more creative and you're going to think of an idea and a possibility and you will be led. This is practically how we can co-create with spirit in the moment.
Oh, I love this because it feels grounded and practical while also feeling like it gets into the spiritual realms of it. It's like the I'm willing to see this differently is saying that I'm in my autonomous self, able to, willing to, open to change in some direction or another. And that if I tell myself that I'm willing, then I'm leading with my agency in what comes next. That then it's like you're saying that it doesn't happen to you, but for you.
I love the way that you summed that up. Yeah, that co-creation is both you claiming your agency and your power to change your situation and recognizing that it's so much better when we do it together and so much more effective when we do it together and that we're never alone.
I often think that people feel very alone. And I think, because when I think of prayer, I think we do it alone. When I think of journaling or meditating, it seems like very siloed and soloed activities. Unless we're in an intentional space that is like there's a local meditation center around here or there's a church or that there is a group or something that we're intentionally going to. But I think that often when I think of a spiritual crisis, I think of a loneliness crisis too. Like I think
Mhm.
that they go hand in hand. And I do think that more people are feeling more lonely than ever and feeling more of that. Well, if I'm gonna be the one that gets me out of it, I have to be the one that does it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the culture that we're steeped in. We are steeped in a culture of individualism, even within spirituality culture. It's like, it's so individualistic. Like, it's so interesting to me how I say this quite often. Like, a lot of folks have taken spirit out of spirituality
Mm.
because there's not a relationship. Like, to me, like, spirituality is a relationship. Like, I don't know how to have spirituality without spirit because that's the whole point. We are actively co-creating our lives with spirit. And I think that, to your point, when you were saying earlier, how you loved that practice, which to me started as a practice and now is a way of life. So I think like that is what I'm trying to support people with is building a life, a spiritual life. Like when I hit, and not even when I hit a moment, like when I was on my walk today, I was just like, thank you, spirit, because it's just a beautiful day. It's just a beautiful, I'm grateful. It's a new moon. It's a new moon in Cancer today when we're talking. And it's just been a really magical day. And so I was just on my walk saying, thank you, spirit. I mean, I'm just so grateful for my insight timer live this morning and this, session I had with this client. And I had a beautiful lunch that I made for myself. And thank you for the resources to do this. Like, it's both and. So both nurturing those moments with self and spirit. And in these moments when we hit a roadblock like this, like our go-to being, okay, it's time to pray.
All right, and we're back.
Yay, we're back.
We're back.
The
Okay,
spiritual
so
connection was so high that
spiritual
we
connection was so high that it got interrupted. It overcame the Wi-Fi.
it does that quite frequently. I
Love
have to
that.
admit, for me.
Wow, wow, that's that's powerful. Okay, because we were talking about how spiritual connection is relational. So, what does that relationship mean? What does it
Okay.
mean? Just what does it mean to a person? Like, what does that actually mean?
Yeah. So I think like when we were speaking earlier and I was saying like the spirit has been taken out of spirituality, and you were saying earlier that you loved that prayer practice because it's so grounded in the moment. Like that's a moment of connection that I am consciously making with spirit in the moment. And just like any relationship, like it's only going to be as strong as we are consistently connected. So like if you and I want to create a friendship and I reach out to you once a year and you reach out to me, once a year, like our connection's going to be acquaintances at best. But this is what happens, right? Like we are not socialized to relate with spirit like we are socialized to relate with our friends or our humans that we love or our partners, which is consistent connection creates intimacy. So the same thing is true with spirit. You just have to like connect frequently and not just in moments of crisis. Like when I was on a walk earlier, I was thanking spirit for a beautiful, beautiful blessing of this day today. The resources that I have, the incredible clients that I get to work with, the beautiful Insight Timer Live that I did this morning, and just like the gift of that exchange with other people. Um, and I also like I love to invite fun and play and magic in. And so I had said I love like a fun synchronicity. And then the pineapple synchronicity came, right? That's not unique to me. Like that's available to every single human being who has access to that possibility. So additionally, when we hit those stuck moments, it's about strengthening and building our spiritual musculature. If I only do that prayer practice once in a while, then I'm going to feel a very limp connection to spirit. But if I'm practicing that in every moment that I feel stuck, every possible one, and like this isn't like a quest for perfectionism, it's just if I make that my go to, then I'm going to start to notice patterns in how spirit uniquely communicates with me because we're all so unique and so different and diverse. And spirit is going to meet us there because spirit is infinite, spirit is limitless, and spirit is going to meet you exactly where you are in the exact right ways you require it. And it's funny because I also have a joke around pineapples. I don't know if you listen to the Handsome podcast, but it is my absolute favorite podcast.
Yes. So I listened to a couple of episodes, but I love Tig Notaro in her stand-up. I think she's phenomenal.
Oh my God, the freaking funniest. So in one of their earlier episodes, Mae Martin, who's their third co-host, they were
Thank you.
talking about this, like, I don't know, middle school or high school dance, and their teacher, like, to instruct them to not like dance too close. Did you listen to this one?
No.
So their
I love
teacher was like, you're gonna love this. Their teacher was like instructing them to not dance too close to each other. And the teacher was like, they were like, pineapple apart, pineapple apart. So they were asking them to dance to imagine a pineapple was between them. Like that doesn't even make sense. It was
that's
so freaking funny. So like,
That oh my gosh. Wait, can I tell you something? So I grew
yes.
up in Catholic school and we used to say leave room for the Holy Spirit. That was our version of you need to be arm's length apart to leave room for the Holy Spirit.
Oh my God, that's so hilarious. And also, like, no wonder people are religiously traumatized and don't want anything to do with spirituality. Like, of course, geez, Louise.
Yep.
So, anyway, why I was saying that is because spirit is going to uniquely reach you. Like, so pineapple has like these silly, like, fun meanings for me. And I had specifically said, like, something silly, magical, fun for a sign. So, these are all different ways you can ask for signs from the universe. And I know that sounds like really hokey and silly, but I think that we need more of that, especially when we're feeling alone. We need play, we need pleasure, we need silliness. And asking for signs like that can be so beautiful because it can restore also the lighthearted, childlike innocence. And that to me is also what I've noticed. Like, spirit has so much of that energy. So, does that answer your question?
Yes, it
Okay.
does. Because when I think of that playfulness, I also think of expansion. I think that when you're inviting more of a silly, kind of a more fluid way of being, it, I think of it as like in doing yoga and you're being silly. You're like in, a warrior two pose or like whatever it might be that it's like, we don't take this so seriously. We can just be a little silly and be in this like funky position together. Or yeah, just laughter, the Handsome podcast, any comedian, like comedic timing and things like that, that it does add in this sort of like relationality and think of a more collective effervescence, right? It's like when people are laughing together, when you're finding silliness, when you're finding play, it's like these can be creative ways to get in touch with spirituality that isn't as maybe ritualistic or structure, which it's having the and both. It's like I can have the structure and I can go on the walk and I can pray and I can also then listen to this podcast and remember the word pineapple and then bring it into all these other ways in which that connected today. Which the audience doesn't know this. So I like to tell every guest that the safe word, and I do this with clients too, the safe word that I always like to have is pineapple. So whenever someone is stuck, whenever someone is taking a moment in time or whatever it might be, where they like, hey, I want to take that out, pineapple. Pineapple is just a fun word to say. And then I always know where to go back and edit. But I also like to give it to clients as like, hey, safe word's pineapple. And everyone gives a little chuckle.
It's so genius. It's such a great way to add that play and fun into it. I so agree with you. Like, comedy is not often considered or invited into spiritual space and conversation. But like, if we look back into all of our ancestries and all of our lineages, and in many Native American tribes in particular as well, there was the sacred clown. Like, there was someone whose job, whose role in the tribe and in the community was to bring laughter. And that is true medicine. So I'm so with you. Yes, yes, we need more laughter.
Oh, for sure. For sure. We can take things so seriously. And then any moment where there is a sense of laughter, it's almost a sense of I get you and I get this and I get the space that we're in.
Totally. Yes.
Yeah. So tell me about the breathwork practices that you like to do. Because you gave me some resources and I looked into them and I was almost ready to sign up for a retreat in Joshua Tree. I had to stop myself.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, breathwork is such an umbrella term that is so big. And, when I think about my personal favorites, they're like, it's like picking my favorite child. You know what I mean? I don't have children, but if I did, maybe I'd have a favorite child. I don't know. I mean, if I'm honest, like, I have two cats, and one is named Shakti and one is named Kali. And Shakti is like super fluffy and like a dog and snuggly. And Kali is like this fierce Egyptian goddess. And I love them both so much, but like, Shakti takes the cake. Like, she's so cuddly. So maybe I would have a favorite one. Anyways, that was a digression. I love all of my breathwork practices equally, though. I really, truly do. And I think it's just depending on where I'm at, meeting myself there. If I'm going through a really big season of growth and up leveling, which also often comes with facing some really deep challenges and really painful shit, then I'm going to lean on a more active breathwork practice that can help me to clear stuck emotions and stress and trauma from the body. And I'm going to do something a bit more intense that's going to like act like liquid Drano and just clear me out. In my day to day, I really just love diaphragmatic breathing. I love heart focused breathing. I love practicing the physiological sigh, which is what Dr. Huberman really popularized, which is an incredible, just a beautiful, beautiful, simple breath practice. There's so many. I love also alternate nostril breathing, depending on, which nostril you want to work with or both. So there's so many. It just kind of depends on like what I'm feeling and meeting myself there.
If I'm someone who is just dipping my toe into the world of breath work, and I'm on Instagram and I see everything from Huberman to Wim Hof to maybe like the David Ellis one is the one that you recommended to me to even look into, but which is one that I've never heard of. But where would you say is a accessible place for people to start?
I would say, and we could do this now if you're not driving,
I
just like close your eyes and instruct yourself first. I would actually invite like more of a somatic practice. So starting to notice the body and space by actually bringing your awareness to whatever your body is touching. So if it's the seat beneath you, your back against the seat, or if you're seated on the floor, and just see if you can allow your body to sink 5%, 10% more down into the surface beneath you. And first, let the body feel heavy. So that's going to start to ground the body in time and space. And then I just invite you to inhale and exhale naturally through the nose, like not trying to change the breath at all. And on your next inhale, just noticing your inhale, noticing the coolness of your breath, noticing how the breath feels as you inhale. And then noticing your exhale, noticing the warmth of the breath as you exhale through the nose. So just inhaling and exhaling through the nose really naturally. And just seeing if you can connect to, become aware of everything you can notice as you inhale. And then as you exhale, just focusing on one at a time. And going through one more round. And then when you're complete, just noticing if you internally, if you feel a little bit more grounded, or if it was difficult, challenging, blissful, everything is correct. You can't get it wrong. And then just starting to bring the body back by wiggling fingers and toes and blink the eyes a few times and come back.
That's so wonderful. It feels simple, yet powerful. Yeah.
That's my favorite way to facilitate everything. I think also as AI is going to simplify, but also complicate our lives very soon in the future. I think we're going to have a lot more to learn as a society in different forms and fashions. And there's a lot. 2025 has been incredibly stressful and traumatic for a lot of people. And I think right now, having access to really simple in the moment practices is like chef's kiss. That's the medicine for a lot of us. And those are both somatic and breath practice in the moment, like being able to ground the body. And that improves what's called interoception, which is your body's awareness of what it needs and what it's feeling. So many of us go through the day, and, with a lot of clients that I work with, they don't know that they're hungry until their body's screaming at them that they're hungry, or they don't know that they're thirsty until they're like, oh my God, my mouth is so dry. Or they don't know that they have to pee until they feel like their bladder is so, so full. That to me is an indication that somebody's interoception is off. It's out of balance. We need to connect you with your sensory system. And that practice is a simple way that you can do that. By noticing sensation, you're improving that interoception by just like letting the body. Also, I think as women, like, how medicinal is it to be like, my body gets to feel heavy. I don't have to be skinny and I have to like that. My medicine is to notice how heavy I am. I think that in of itself can be so liberating for so many of us. Um, but yeah, there's so much incredible um, healing that can come from simply being aware of sensation.
Yeah. Awareness being an impactful first step. Sometimes I think this is maybe an overstatement of this, but sometimes I think awareness is 80% of it. And then the rest is like the 20%, because just starting with an awareness practice is it giving yourself the gift and the opportunity to get in touch inside of you. And when I think about this in relationships, and especially when I work with couples, it's like intimacy being into me, you see. Can you see and be aware inside of you so that you can also be aware and see inside of others? But you can only let someone in as far as you're willing to let yourself in. So when we think of even being heavy or letting go of something, it does feel like a very intimate practice with self.
That was so beautiful, Brittany. Yeah, it is. It is intimate. Getting to know all parts of us, the wise parts, the beautiful parts, the wounded parts, the pseudo parts, the masks, the everything, like being willing to know and to love. And I think that's possible. All parts of us, because they're all they all have a good intention, even if it's coming out in a way that we don't appreciate about ourselves all the time. Um, and so awareness to your point can help us to naturally stir up that sense of compassion towards ourselves and then towards others, like you said.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like being actively kind to ourselves, which when we're running around, we wake up, at 6 a.m. and then it's, oh my gosh, what do I need to do next? What do I need to do next? And then it's, oh, I missed this. I missed that email. Didn't get that done in time, or whatever it might be that it feels like is whatever cataclysmic minor thing is happening next. I think that that can feel like a string of days for a lot of people, or a string of hours or minutes. And then to actively go in with compassion or with prayer feels like it's moving in a different direction. It takes a lot of maybe overcoming inertia, because when our just natural state might be what's next and this to-do list thing didn't get done, it's almost like, how can we put that to the side or overcome it or do something differently so that we can start to talk to ourselves a little bit more kinder?
Hmm. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. When you think of trauma, what comes to mind?
Just a small question, just a little baby.
Can you solve trauma for us, Heather?
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Great.
Um, well, let me really be with that question. So when I hear the word trauma, what comes to mind? In this moment, what comes to mind is people's capacity to heal themselves from trauma is so much simpler than they might think. I'm not saying easy, simple and easy are not the same thing, but it's actually simple. We hear these big words, quote unquote, like trauma or somatic, or even I use the word interoception, like these big fancy words that like really, if we take them all away, healing from trauma is about restoring the connection between our brain and our bodies and expanding our capacity to hold all of life, all that we feel, all the sensation, to holistically hold our life experience, to expand our capacity for that. And I believe that every human being who desires that, and I would take it even a step further, because I do think when it comes to, depending on the trauma, but there needs to be a hunger, like a deep hunger to do the work. When you have that, you got this.
Mhm. What do you think that hunger is? When, maybe if it's even when you see it when people that you're working with, how might that show up?
So it can show up through a shit hit the fan moment, like their version of like, I stepped in it, or the same fucking pattern has happened over and over again. And I'm so fucking done with it. Like it could have that kind of energy to it. Or it could just be like you're in a bookstore and the body keeps the score fell off the shelf and you're like, I want to get my ass into therapy. I want to do this. Like, and it awakens like a teacher, a mentor, a book, something could really awaken something inside of them. And they want to actually do that work with someone in real time. Um, those are a few of the ways that they tend to show up for me with clients. Yeah.
Mhm. When I worked in addiction, there was the rock bottom theory that was so popular to talk about, and people are like, oh no, you don't need a rock bottom moment. Or it's that rock bottom, quote unquote, looks different for anyone at any point in time. Like someone could have had this catastrophic event where they got fired from their job because of them drinking at a work event, but then something happened where they missed their kid's soccer game, and that was the rock bottom, right? It's like
Mhm.
it may not look the same, but to that person, it's whatever is, like how you mentioned that spiritual awakening, like that there is this sort of like, hey, here's a moment that you get to make a choice, that to say that you might do something a bit differently and to say that I'm willing for this to be different.
Yes. Yes. Yes to all of that. That was so good. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why do you think we overcomplicate it?
I think we're like so obsessed in Western culture with like sounding smarter than we are, because we all have these like inferiority complexes disguised as superiority complexes. And I think this like feeds, I don't know, like feeds some kind of ego based hole inside of us where we don't feel good enough. We don't feel smart enough. So we need to make things sound fancier than they are. Um, and what was so surprising to me, when I entered into this field of exploring and healing with somatics, I was like, wait, this is so simple. Like, why are people using all these fancy terms and like waiting 200 pages to tell me to just bring my awareness to my body? Like, why are we complicating things? And so but that, and I'm not judging them for that, that awakened me to my part of my purpose. My purpose is to, in the work I do, to simplify things for people, to help them be like, oh my God, I can totally do that prayer practice every day. Oh my God, that's all I have to do. I have to feel the weight of my body and like notice my breath in my nose. Okay, great. Like, and I love that in moments with clients when I get to teach them. And I hear a lot from clients. And I think part of it is because of my own passion, but also the type of client that I work with, they're always like, I'm so excited to go home and practice this, because I think part of them was like expecting something to be really complicated, and it's so simple, you know?
Mhm. Totally. I I do love that. I noticed even the first time we talked, you are so passionate. And I do think it is in sort of the delivery, right? It's almost like with I'm super passionate and I totally believe this and we're doing this together and I believe in you and that you can do this. It has such a different energy than this is going to be hard and you're going to have to find a minute and it's going to be challenging, but you can do it. And like you kind of leading
Yeah.
you're overcoming a challenge versus you get to and let's be excited about it and it does have just a bit of a different reframe and of course person to person they might hear that differently depending on where they're at that point in time, but I do think that at times it's like, hey, when I'm super excited about this and I'm excited for us to do this together, it does give a little of that like pump up to be able to then be like, oh yeah, we get to talk about this next time we see each other and we can see how it goes.
That's such a great, thank you for saying that. You're right. It's like you could say the same thing with completely different energies, or like shifting the words slightly, and how we influence each other is so powerful. Yeah, that's such the way that you illustrated both of those approaches reminded me of also the power that we have around how we influence each other. So thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. EFT, the emotionally focused tapping, because EFT, emotionally focused therapy, is also the thing, but EFT, it's emotionally focused tapping. That's correct, right?
It's called emotional freedom technique.
Thank you. Wow, I just combined them.
Okay. There's a lot of modalities out there.
And our field loves an acronym. I'm like, wow, when we have so many, they start to mean they have the same acronym that mean many different things. So, okay, emotional freedom technique. What is this? How do you use this? I actually, to this point, I just watched the show The Better Sister on Amazon Prime.
Yes, she was
55.
tapping.
Yes, yes. Jessica Biel's character was like, I don't go to therapy, but I tapped, and her sister went, okay. Was basically the interaction. But yeah, so she was doing this in the show, and I was like, oh, this is becoming more mainstream. So can you talk about what this modality is?
Yes, I can talk about tapping. So, oh my gosh, I love tapping, also known as emotional freedom technique. So basically, if to sum it up in just a short, simplified, bite-sized nugget, tapping is exactly what it sounds like. You're just tapping on different points in your body, which are specific meridians that are associated with certain emotions that help you to release stuck energy and stress and trauma from the body, and help you to rewire the neural pathways in your brain. So it's another modality that you can use to really shift patterns and to shift them deeply. And depending on how ingrained the pattern is, depending on the level of receptivity the individual has, and depending on how willing they are to change, you can change patterns very fast. Um, so I love particularly working. Sometimes clients will hire me just for tapping, and we'll do tapping together in session. And then they have a therapist who they do traditional psychotherapy with. So that has been new for me over the past year. That's been so fun. I've had a few clients who've hired me just specifically for tapping. Um, And it's incredible to watch the shifts that happen for people when, for example, what I've noticed is it can be, at least for the population I work with, really, really, really helpful for people who have OCD tendencies because it gets them moving and helps them to talk out what's happening. It almost reroutes what used to be a rumination or an obsessive thought form and makes it a positive orientation, uh, which I honestly hadn't considered when I started to tap myself and when I started to work with other people. The other thing that it can be really helpful with is rewiring trauma. I work with people who have experienced, emotional, psychological, sometimes physical abuse in the past, and or childhood trauma, and want to use tapping specifically to clear those patterns. And it's amazing to go on a journey with them because you start with like the top layer of a pattern, and tapping has a beautiful way of helping you just slough off layer by layer. Um, and patterns that you used to engage in, you just like don't anymore. It works really fast. And like I said, it depends on how ingrained the pattern is. For some ingrained patterns, if someone comes to me and they've had like a 30-year pattern of XYZ, probably not. Like we need like several sessions to but they'll notice market improvement within the first couple of sessions. Whether it's like we were talking about earlier, they have like full conscious awareness of what they're doing, whereas prior it was just a complete snap reactivity. Or they're doing the thing, but they're feeling calm in their body. So like there's marked shifts that they can experience, but it really is so helpful for also limited thinking patterns. Like if you're just stuck in like these really, really ingrained limiting belief patterns and you want to shift, tapping is an amazing way to do that.
Amazing. Because I mean, again, it's a somatic practice that anyone can do. I love the DIY along with the being able to do it with a therapist or a coach. So when you say it depends on how ingrained the pattern is, can I just throw out a few examples just to kind of
Yes.
okay, so let's say again, I work with a lot of people who are like in like the relational space of like dating, and they're like, I keep dating the same kind of emotionally unavailable person over and over again, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I am so stuck. I'm feeling jaded. I'm feeling hopeless in my love life. Would tapping be something that this person can start to use to try and okay.
1000%. So how would that happen? How would that go into session? I would I would have my notebook and I would say, okay, um, Jasmine, I want you to tell me every single negative thought form that you're having about dating right now. Like, go, don't hold back. Tell me everything. So I'm going to write all of those down. Then, and this is just the way that I do it with clients, this isn't the way that everyone does it. Then I would say, okay, great. Do you have any more? Are there more? Are there more? We want to get all of them out. I want to know what they all are. Then, when she's complete with that, I'd say, okay, let's pretend a miracle has occurred. I snap my fingers and this pattern is completely gone. This is intentional. I do that every single time I'm working with someone because I want them to get out of the rut. I'm inviting them, and snapping has been shown to help people like jog their mind into entertaining a new possibility. And so I want them to start to imagine that a new way of being is possible. So I'm already like planting the seed. So I snap my fingers. This is no longer a problem. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? And how are you acting? And who are you dating? I want you to fantasize with me. Just like go there. And then she tells me all of those things. And that is the fodder for our tapping session. So first, I'm gonna ask her to rate how intense like all of her limiting beliefs are on a scale of 0 to 10. I'm gonna ask her to feel it in her body. I'm gonna ask her to notice where it is. We're gonna tap on all that. When she feels complete with that, then we're going to start to go into all of the positive thought forms, and we're going to start to embed those in with the tapping. And we just repeat as often as possible. But I think that she would experience with something like that within a session, she would experience a pretty profound shift in how she's approaching her life and dating if she's
Wow.
open and willing.
Yes, that it's her open place to be in as almost like a requisite, so to speak, to be able like and like with everything, right? It's like when you're open to it for it to come in, then it will start to work. I think thematic for what's happening today.
Yes.
So then when you're doing the meridian point tapping, are you hitting on certain meridian points for certain issues? Are you going through all of them? How does the tapping look?
Yeah. So there's always a setup statement. Um, and typically, so the setup statement is for the tapping, even though blah, 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 blah. So what I mean is, even though dating feel like, and it has to be authentic to the person. So I'm not going to make it up. We're going to work it through together. Every single word has to be authentic to the client, or it's not going to work. They have to resonate with the words. That's why I ask them to tell me and I write it down because I want to use their words. Um, so let's say Jasmine, I would say to Jasmine, like, what's going to come after even though about dating? Like, and maybe she's like, even though I feel so fucking stuck about dating, maybe that word fucking is really important to her, right? So it would be, even though I feel so fucking stuck around dating. And then we have to have some kind of a positive connotation after that. I love to bring in A Course in Miracles here and use I am willing to see this differently. It's my favorite to use. It's like my go-to, and most people love it. The go-to in how it's taught typically in most tapping schools is I love and accept myself. And I just, I don't know. I don't always vibe with that personally. Some people really do. But I love that I am willing to see this differently, because you're starting to rewire those neural pathways in a really specific, targeted way that people resonate with. And then after we do the setup statement 3 times, I'll start going through different points on the body. So I go inside the eye, outside the eye, under the nose, at the chin, at the collarbone, under the arm, and then top of the head. And I just keep going around. I like to make things simple. There are so many, in my tapping certification, I learned many different specific modalities for specific emotions and da 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 da. And to be honest with you, they all work to me. Like, it doesn't quite matter. I don't know. And a lot, like really, really high expert tapping people would probably be like, but you don't understand. And I'm sure they're correct. But again, my way of doing things is very simple. And I want people to be able to take the practice and use it outside of session. So I just do the same thing every time.
I love this so much. Yes. Wow. Okay. You're convincing me to start to
It's
to like,
magical.
yeah. Yeah, this sounds well, again, I look, therapist. We love therapy. Huge fan. However, I also don't think that therapy needs to be just practicing in a silo. And I like having something that is actionable, that I can take with me, that I can do on my own, that I can read more about, whatever it might be, that is like I can do these practices on my own and feel confident in doing it. Because sometimes I think when they're overcomplicated, then you're giving people something that is so complex that I feel like I'm doing this incorrectly. I feel like I'm doing this wrong. And that, whatever the morning pages of journaling, what do I even write, or whatever it might be that feels like a stuck point that then is overcoming the inertia of what do I do? I don't know how, or how do I begin? That when you're giving the prescription and it cuts through all of those questions or all of those thoughts, that it's you do know and you got this and it's simple and here take it and run with it. Like run free with this. I love that.
Oh, exactly. I came from a coaching background before I got my master's degree and then my LMFT. So like I bring that, as Lynn Gradsky says, that coaching edge into all of my work. Like I only work with people who want to do practices outside of session because I don't know any other way of changing. Like I don't, to me, therapy needs to be, yes, a therapeutic space where we can talk. And again, I'm always centering my client's agency. And to me, the ultimate agency, the ultimate sense of personal power is like, can I leave this room and replicate what we just did? If you can't, then there's an unhealthy reliance on me. And
Mhm.
I don't want that for you when you are coming to me to restore your sense of agency and self trust and personal power. That's not a service to you, you know? So, yeah.
Beautifully stated. Is there anything that we didn't cover today that you to go into?
I mean, yes, but we don't have time.
Any if there's a if
Anything. No, I mean, what I mean is I have had such a wonderful time talking with you, and it's been so easy and fluid and fun, and I could do it for hours. And thank you. Thank you for the space, Brittany, that you create for people to show up in their magic and in their brilliance and for your curiosity. Um, the way that you reflectively listen and how present you are, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing to be in the presence of.
well, thank you so much. I'm so grateful for you. And I'm also super grateful. I think this is the most practical episode that we have. We have practices in here, which I am so excited for people to know you and to get to experience your work in a very live way. So this has been wonderful. And I'm also not kidding when I say 2.0 should definitely come at some point.
Oh, let's go. Let's fucking go. Yes.
Can't wait. All right. Well, thank you again, Heather. And we'll even links. We mentioned quite a few resources, so we'll link some of those in the show notes so that people can follow along. And where can people find you?
Yeah. So come to my website, heatherwaxman.com. If you want, you can sign up to my email list. There's a free practice for moving anxious energy. It combines breathwork and somatic practice that you can sign up for. Then you'll get my emails. I give out amazing emails every Monday. So you'll love those. So that would be the best place to go. Secondly, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm at Heather Waxman there. And then also, if you have the Insight Timer app, you can follow me there. I have exclusive guided meditations on there. And I do a live weekly journaling and somatic practice on there every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time.
Amazing. Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. I want to join.
You should. They're so fun. They're
Oh my
amazing.
gosh, I will. Well, thank you so much. And until next time, everyone, stay connected.